The Charity Marathon. Last month, I decided to take part in a charity marathon. I've always wanted to challenge myself and give back to my community. So this seemed like the perfect opportunity to do both. When I first got the idea, I wasn't sure if I could run such a long distance. I've never been much of an athlete, but I decided to put my doubts aside and give it a try. I knew I had to make a plan and stick to it. The first step was to get in shape. I started by running short distances and gradually increased them over time. It wasn't easy at first, and I often felt like giving up. But I kept reminding myself of the reason I was doing this: to raise money for a local children's hospital. I also had to get the right equipment. I went to a sports store and got a good pair of running shoes. The salesperson gave me some useful advice on how to choose the best shoes for long-distance running. As the weeks went by, I could feel myself getting stronger. I was able to run longer distances without getting tired. This gave me more confidence, and I started to believe that I could actually complete the marathon. To raise money, I put up posters around my neighborhood and created an online fundraising page. I was surprised by how generous people were. Friends, family, and even strangers gave donations to support my cause. The night before the marathon, I made sure to have a good meal and get plenty of rest. I laid out my running clothes and put my race number on my shirt. I felt nervous but excited. On the day of the marathon, I woke up early and had a light breakfast. When I got to the starting line, I was amazed to see so many people. There were runners of all ages and abilities, all there to support various charities. As the race began, I started at a steady pace. I knew I had to conserve my energy for the long run ahead. The first few miles felt good, and I was encouraged by the cheering crowds along the route. Around the halfway point, I started to feel tired. My legs were aching, and I was tempted to stop. But then I remembered all the people who had supported me, and the children who would benefit from the money raised. This gave me the strength to keep going. The last few miles were the hardest. Every step was a challenge, but I was determined to finish. As I approached the finish line, I could hear the crowd cheering. With one final burst of energy, I ran across the line. The feeling of accomplishment was incredible. I had not only completed the marathon, but also raised a significant amount of money for the children's hospital. The organizers gave me a medal, which I proudly put around my neck. After the race, I took some time to recover and reflect on my experience. I realized that I had learned a lot about perseverance and the power of community support. The whole experience had made me a stronger person, both physically and mentally. Now, I'm already thinking about my next challenge. I want to keep running and maybe even take part in more marathons. But more importantly, I want to continue finding ways to give back to my community and make a positive difference in people's lives. This experience taught me that when we push ourselves and work towards a good cause, we can achieve amazing things. It's not always easy, but the rewards are worth every step of the journey.
My first job experience. Last summer, I decided to get my first part-time job. I wanted to make some money and gain work experience. After looking through job advertisements online, I found an opening at a local bookstore. I've always loved books, so I thought this would be perfect for me. I took some time to prepare for the interview. I put on my best clothes and made sure I looked presentable. When I arrived at the bookstore, I was nervous but excited. The manager gave me a warm welcome and asked me several questions about my interests and why I wanted to work there. To my delight, I got the job. The manager said she liked my enthusiasm and knowledge of books. She gave me a schedule and told me to start the following week. I couldn't wait to begin my new adventure. On my first day, I arrived early to make a good impression. A senior employee showed me around and explained my duties. I had to put books on shelves, help customers find what they were looking for, and work at the cash register. It seemed like a lot to learn, but I was determined to do my best. At first, I found it challenging to remember where everything was located. The bookstore had so many sections and categories. But as the days went by, I started to get more comfortable. I made a mental map of the store, and soon could find books quickly when customers asked for help. One day, an elderly customer came in looking for a specific book. She couldn't remember the title but gave me a brief description of the story. I took some time to listen carefully, and then helped her look through several sections. Finally, we found the book she wanted. The smile on her face when I handed her the book made me feel great. I realized that helping people could be very rewarding. Working at the cash register was another new experience for me. I had to be careful when handling money and make sure I gave the correct change. At first, I was slow and sometimes made mistakes, but my colleagues were patient and gave me tips on how to improve. As weeks passed, I got better at my job. Customers often gave me compliments on my service, which made me feel proud. I also started to make friends with my coworkers. We would sometimes have lunch together and share stories about interesting customers or new books we had read. One day, my manager took me aside and told me she was impressed with my progress. She gave me more responsibilities, like organizing book displays and helping with inventory. This made me feel valued and motivated me to work even harder. Working at the bookstore also had an unexpected benefit. It improved my own reading habits. Being surrounded by books all day made me want to read more. I started to take home a new book every week, expanding my knowledge and imagination. By the end of the summer, I had learned so much. I had improved my communication skills, become more confident in dealing with people, and gained valuable work experience. I also managed to save some money, which felt great. Looking back, I'm so glad I took that first step to get a job. It wasn't always easy, and there were times when I felt tired or frustrated. But overall, it was an amazing experience that taught me a lot about responsibility, teamwork, and the satisfaction of earning my own money. Now, as I prepare to go back to school, I feel more mature and ready for new challenges. I plan to continue working part-time at the bookstore on weekends. Who knows what new skills I might develop or what interesting people I might meet. One thing is certain, I'll always be grateful for this first job experience and the lessons it taught me.
A new hobby: gardening. Last spring, I decided to take up gardening as a new hobby. I've always loved the idea of growing my own vegetables and flowers. But I never had the time or space to do it. When we moved to a house with a small backyard, I knew it was the perfect opportunity to give it a try. First, I had to get some basic gardening tools. I went to the local hardware store and bought a shovel, some gloves, and a watering can. The store owner was very helpful and gave me some advice on how to start a small garden. Next, I had to prepare the soil. This was harder work than I expected. I had to cut away the grass and dig up the ground. It took me a whole weekend to clear a small patch of land. By Sunday evening, my hands were sore, but I felt proud of what I had accomplished. Then came the exciting part: choosing what to plant. I decided to start with some easy-to-grow vegetables like tomatoes and lettuce, and a few colorful flowers. I bought some seeds and small plants from a garden center. The staff there gave me tips on how to take care of each type of plant. Planting day finally arrived. I carefully put each seed and plant into the soil, making sure to space them correctly. I remember feeling a bit nervous, wondering if anything would actually grow. After watering everything thoroughly, all I could do was wait and hope for the best. Over the next few weeks, I made sure to water my garden regularly. I also had to learn how to deal with pests. Some caterpillars were eating my lettuce leaves, so I had to find a natural way to get rid of them without harming the plants. About a month after planting, I got my first surprise. Tiny green shoots were starting to appear. It was so exciting to see something I had planted beginning to grow. I took photos to share with my friends and family. As the plants grew bigger, I learned how to prune them. I had to cut off some leaves and branches to help the plants grow stronger. It felt strange at first, but I soon realized it was necessary for healthy growth. By midsummer, my garden was thriving. The tomato plants were tall and full of green fruit, and the flowers had bloomed into a rainbow of colors. I even had enough lettuce to make salads for my family. The first time I picked a ripe tomato from my own plant was a special moment. I carefully cut it from the vine and brought it inside. That evening, I made a salad using vegetables entirely from my garden. It was the best tasting salad I've ever had. Gardening has taught me a lot about patience and care. Sometimes things don't grow as expected, but that's part of the learning process. I've had to deal with unexpected problems like sudden rainstorms or hot dry spells, but each challenge has taught me something new. Now, as autumn approaches, I'm planning what to plant next year. I want to try growing some different vegetables, and maybe even start a small herb garden. I've put all my gardening tools in a new shed, ready for next spring. This hobby has given me more than just fresh vegetables. It's helped me relax after busy days at work, get some exercise, and feel more connected to nature. I've even made some new friends who share tips and extra plants with me. Looking back, I'm so glad I decided to start this garden. It's been rewarding to see how a little effort each day can lead to amazing results. I'm looking forward to many more years of gardening adventures.